I believe that Hollywood is cooked and the writing is on the wall. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening and why. So, I'm assuming that most of you are aware that ByteDance has released Seedance 2.0, which basically is text to video, and it is very close to production quality. There have been a number of videos released that show Marvel superheroes and other people, and people are already releasing short films with Seedance that are, let's just say they would cost millions of dollars to do the old-fashioned way, but now they cost just a few dollars. So when I say that Hollywood is cooked, what we know that's already happening is that everyone from Paramount to Disney is sending takedown requests and cease and desist orders. They're getting videos demonetized or removed from Twitter, probably from YouTube. I haven't heard of any just yet, but they're filing lawsuits and that sort of thing. So when you have an all-hands-on-deck reaction within a few days of the release of a new AI, you know that the industry is paying attention. Other groups such as the Motion Picture Association and SAG-AFTRA, I think I'm saying that right, has also decried the use of stolen intellectual property to generate the faces and movements of famous actors like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and that sort of thing. So just on a technical level, we can see, all right, there is fewer and fewer barriers to production. But then when you look at what's actually going to happen out in the real world, this is kind of the sequence of events that I think is going to happen. And before I tell you that, I want to let you know that the Kickstarter for my book is finally live. So check it out. Description in the comments and link in the description. There we go. All right, I got it. Moving on. So the 5 steps are this. Number 1, everyone gets DMC takedowns so that they stop using copyrighted IP and trademarked material. This is already happening, and Disney somehow leveled their guns at China across the sea, and even ByteDance has said that they're going to limit the ability of these models to generate protected copyrighted material or trademarked material. I'm not really sure how they did that, because China doesn't really respect American copyright laws, but here we are. Step 2, everyone generates an infinite amount of novel stuff and enjoy copyright and trademark protections for their own work. So here's where it gets kind of dicey, where already there has been litigation that says, well, you know, anything generated by AI is not copyrighted, but the law is already breaking in favor of actually, like, if you own a copyright or a trademark, it doesn't matter whether or not AI generated it. You own that copyright. You own that trademark. So literally all you have to do is write a story by hand, and then you own, here's how copyright law works. I married a librarian. Anything that you write, even if you publish it on a fan fiction site, is automatically copyrighted for you. So anything that you put your human creativity into, automatically copyrighted. Then everything else is just derivative. Like if you say, hey, I'm generating, AI-based anime or film or TV for my copyrighted work, copyright and trademark works in your favor then. So then at step 2, we're going to have this infinite influx of not even fandoms, not even fanfics. It's going to be your own original works. Step 3 is the art form iterates faster than the industry, and people end up going for indie stuff, just like on KDP. Now, there is some debate over step 3 because traditional publishing, and when I say KDP, I mean Kindle Direct Publishing. So we've already seen this massive proliferation in the publishing industry with indie publishers and direct publishing. So I think basically the same thing is going to happen because we already have global distribution platforms in the form of YouTube being the biggest one, Vimeo, Twitch. All of these platforms allow for immediate distribution. So Hollywood doesn't control distribution except on the big screen, but who cares, right? Like, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before the first fully AI generated, fan created or indie created feature film makes it onto the big screen somewhere. And of course, Hollywood is going to say, like, no, if you're not the Screen Actors Guild doesn't approve it, it's not allowed on the screen. But that is just rent seeking. That is just obstructionism for the sake of obstructionism. And, that has never really stood the test of time historically. people resisted moving to theaters in the first place. They said, no, keep it on the stage. And then people resisted the radio. They said, no, keep it in the orchestra, and so on and so forth. But it's like the technology is there, and whether with or without permission, we're going to start making our own stuff. So now the other number that it's like how many people, actually or like the total number of books, right? How many books total get published through indie publishing versus traditional? And it's like, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but basically traditional publishing is not dead yet. They're still there. They're still around. But at the same time, there's no gatekeepers. There's no one preventing you from publishing a book, just how I'm doing with post-labor economics. I don't need any institutional permission, and no one can tell me no. So step 4 then is traditional studios start to fold and merge just like publishing houses had. This is already happening. Look at the Warner Brothers and Paramount and Netflix drama that's been going on. Look at the fact that Disney has been buying up every single intellectual property they can, because at a certain level, they probably knew the writing was on the wall and have for a while that AI is eventually going to replace pretty much all production. Then it's just a matter of who owns the favorite characters, who owns Iron Man, who owns Star Trek, who owns Star Wars. So really what they've been buying is intellectual property. Now, of course, the intellectual property of Star Wars, Star Trek, MCU, all of those big ticket items, Avatar, are going to stick around. Now, even James Cameron himself has said that he will consider using artificial intelligence to help lower the costs for the Avatar 4 and 5. The reason is because Fire and Ash only did $1.5 billion at the box office compared to Avatar 1, which did almost $3 billion. So it's cut in half. And it was on a budget of $400 million, most of which was going to VFX. Now, he said AI will never help with the actors. It'll never help with the writing. That is strictly human. What he wants it to do is help with VFX. So if even James Cameron, arguably one of the top performing directors of all time, is saying, yeah, this is the direction that the industry is going, we can't really resist it. Now, he didn't say that, I'm editorializing, but he's just saying, like, yeah, we'll consider using AI to lower the cost of VFX. That just kind of shows you the direction that the industry is going. And then finally, step 5, the new normal is that you have fandoms built around YouTube and other direct creator platforms. This is like, all right, so here's an example of a series as the Locked Tomb series that's out right now. It's built a huge fandom. It's original IP. I don't know if it was direct published, but that's not the point. The point is that some person on the internet said, I'm going to write a story, and their debut novel takes off and has a huge fandom already, showing that you can do this kind of thing again and again. It's, yes, not everything is going to be J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, where it goes and becomes a billion-dollar franchise with theme parks and that sort of stuff. But individuals don't necessarily need to go through traditional publishing to build a large fandom. And that is just really like, I kind of feel like this is the first shot across the bow. And so that's really all there is to the video, is just those 5 steps. Is the law is going to force people to do their own creative work. And there's already people on Twitter saying, hey, you know what? I don't need to use copyrighted material. I can do my own original stuff. And they're already brainstorming on Twitter. How do you come up with an original idea? So they're like, one prompt was, Grok, create, a trailer for the most epic, high fantasy kids movie of the 80s that didn't exist but should exist. And it was a passable trailer. It wasn't, it wasn't something that you'd expect out of Hollywood, not yet. But the point is that the AI with a single prompt was able to come up with like something that looked like it would have been pretty entertaining. And then other people are like, dragons and ships. And if you've ever read Her Majesty's Dragon, I didn't read it, but my wife read it and she was talking about it for years. Basically, it's like Master and Commander with dragons. And I'm like, that sounds fun. So your imagination becomes the limit. And that is just like, that's really the direction that things are going. And, obviously control over the physical infrastructure, the distribution to actual movie theaters, the marketing that's required to launch a movie today, that is all stuff that I think that the industry will be able to keep a handle on for a long time. my high school job was working at a movie theater. There is so much that goes into like every movie theater. I mean, it's not just the popcorn, it's not just the drinks, it's all the promotional materials, all the posters, all the cardboard cutouts. And then of course, back then we were still working on transitioning from traditional film to digital, and now everything is digital, so it's just a file. They send it to you on a hard drive basically. But the point is that like that's a lot of work to get something distributed, to get the marketing budget. And I don't know what the numbers are, but the marketing budget for even big MCU movies is non-trivial. It can be like north of $100 million. So it's like fully a tenth to 20% of the budget goes to marketing, I think, in some movies. And so that's something that like, yes, a platform like YouTube allows you to get instant global reach, but with no marketing, which means it's organic discovery. However, one argument that I saw out there is that organic discovery is basically pre-vetting the taste. And let me see if I can articulate this, because I was reading people reacting to this kind of thing. So lots and lots of people have said that like taste is the remaining kind of moat for humanity. And they reframed the algorithm as a sorting mechanism. So what we mean by that is instead of spending, a few years and hundreds of millions of dollars on a movie that you hope is going to do well, so you hire the right writers, you hire the right directors, you hire the right actors, and then, you allocate a budget and that sort of thing. Now, the content itself, the actual product, is going to be something that you can do in an afternoon or in a couple weeks and do it for relatively cheap and then iterate. And so then it's like, okay, you iterate that product, you do a limited release to, diehard fans or whatever. And of course, like they do this kind of thing. They do screen tests for like alternate versions of something. But at a certain point, the script is the script, the director is the director. But when you can rapidly iterate, this is where like we're going to have the cultural, like, I don't even know what it's called, but like the cultural context of what they do in Japan. So if you're a fan of anime and manga, what Japan has done for many, many years is that all the studios, like they copy and borrow from each other, and the style and the tropes iterate so quickly in manga, and it's just such a high volume of manga. So by the time something gets released as an anime, they know what tropes work, they know what character arcs work, they know like everything is already pre-tested and pre-vetted. And I think that we're going to kind of get the same thing with cinema in the future, where the fan-made films or the indie-made films that do well on YouTube, the indie films that do well, or the limited series that do well on YouTube, those are the ones that are just going to get picked out, and then you're going to get a deal with, Paramount or Disney or whatever, and they'll say, okay, we'll do a distribution. This is honestly kind of already being done with novels. You look at Andy Weir's The Martian. So The Martian is a prime example of using a lower cost production model of getting a story out there. So Andy Weir, if you're not familiar, he wrote The Martian, and he wrote it as more or less a public project, where he was writing ideas, getting ideas from his fans as he went. And so by the time it was done, you had this very tightly written book, and the movie basically uses the book as a screenplay, almost scene for scene, line for line. It is a very tightly written book, and it's almost like, wow, like the director didn't have to do anything. Just like, okay, cool. Exactly as we said. There's a few things here and there that are cut out or changed, but honestly, the movie is like great. So, but the point is that the studios allowed the publishing industry to figure out what story was going to resonate first. Same thing happened for Harry Potter, right? Like Harry Potter became a global phenomenon of books and publishing. Same thing for Twilight. And so we're basically going to see that same model replicated, but instead of seeing whether or not a book translates to the screen, because if you look at what was it, Jupiter Ascending or that other one, anyways, there have been some major flops that just did not translate to the screen for various reasons. But the thing is, if you have a video artifact that is already doing well, like if let's just say instead of finishing my novels, I wait just a couple more years and make my novels into 2-hour films and I release them on YouTube and they get, millions of views or billions of views or whatever, then the studios will know, hey, let's do a release of that on the big screen and maybe, like clean it up or whatever. I don't know what they would do. But with AI, you can just like, oh, let's tweak this scene or whatever. You can regenerate anything. That I think is going to be the way of the future. So yes, it's not to say that Hollywood is gone forever. I think that there will always be a nostalgia factor, particularly for flesh and blood human actors. I think that it will become more of a prestige genre. And so what I mean by prestige genre is the same way that we think of going to the symphony orchestra or going to the opera today. Even though you can get better music at home, even though you can watch a better production at home, people still go to the symphony, people still go to the opera, people still go to see stage plays, Broadway productions and that sort of thing. Likewise, I think that the traditional publishing of movies and traditional recording of movies is going to stick around pretty much forever. And that's just because human brains are wired to index on other humans. At the same time, I think the vast majority, the volume of digital entertainment is going to be AI generated, just by virtue of the fact that like it's going to be better, faster, cheaper than the alternative, and it's also going to be customized. Like and here's where I'll end. I think where I'll end. So, I over a year ago now, I got on Suno and I made a couple of albums of like music that I really wanted to listen to, and I started sharing it, just saying like, "Hey guys, I made something that I really like," and then I got like, they don't get any views. I got some criticism. People like, this is really generic and derivative. And I even had someone saying like, oh, I can help you make music that's going to be even more popular. And I'm like, no, I didn't make this to be popular. I made it because it's something I want to listen to. And I think that that's another direction that things are going to go in is, like context windows are already large enough that that AI could write novels. There's a lot more that goes into writing a novel that'll keep it interesting. But before long, I think that people are going to be generating their own entertainment. And there are already people who primarily listen to AI generated music. And it's custom. It's your custom feed. It's going to be your custom novels. It's going to be your custom music. It's going to be your custom TV shows and that sort of thing. So like, one of the genres that my wife and I love is we like historical period pieces. And so it's like, eventually you run out of them because they only make them so fast. And there's only so many movies that Daniel Day-Lewis could be in, or Colin Firth. So we as a species will be getting to the point where it's like whatever entertainment you want, it's going to be, if not on demand, then it's going to be highly bespoke and custom tailored to you. All right. Thanks for watching. Please check out the Kickstarter. We are on the pre-launch phase right now. So basically sign up, and once we get to critical mass, we'll do the legitimate launch. But yeah, post-labor economics, it is on the way. We already sent the manuscript out to an editor. So it is being edited as we speak. And you can hear I'm practicing my voice and my pitch and everything so that I can read the book myself. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Cheers.